This session, we will be dealing with triangle congruence. Now, to begin with, let's have what does congruence mean? So the idea of congruence, again, is simply two geometric figures with exactly the same size and the same shape. So you have noticed that the two triangles have the same shape, and you have also noticed that they have the same size, meaning this one is congruent to this side, this one is congruent to this side, this one is congruent to this size. Okay? And of course, you also have noticed that this angle is congruent to this angle. This angle here, this is congruent to this. So I am simply placing congruent symbol. And this angle is congruent to this angle. Okay? Now, if there are no symbols for congruence, just like what I am doing right now, you cannot say that the sides or the angles are congruent. So take note, there should be a symbol for congruence for two sides or two angles to be congruent. Okay, let's have more examples. Let's focus on corresponding parts first. So take note, a triangle has basic parts. Now let's begin with the vertex. Okay? So who can name me one vertex in triangle ABC? A vertex is simply kanang tumoy-tumoy sa usa ka triangle. Nya unsa man nga letter ang makita nimo sa tumoy ana, that is what you call a vertex.
A, sir.
A is a vertex. What else? What are other vertices here?
C, sir. C.
Okay, the letter C. What?
E, sir.
And the letter B. So these are vertices of the first triangle.
E of H, sir.
Okay, A, C, and B. Or ABC. Now this time, gonna be having corresponding parts. This is our symbol for corresponding. So this is A corresponds to. Now, what is the partner of A in this triangle here in our second triangle? Is it E, is it F, or is it D?
D, sir.
D.
Okay, A corresponds to D. What about the vertex C?
E.
Oh,
F, sir.
is it E or is it F?
F, sir.
It's
F.
the letter F. So take note,
F.
C corresponds to F.
F.
A corresponds to D.
E, sir.
And B corresponds to E. Dili na siya pwedeng magbali-bali, ha? Dapat the partner of A should be D, C should be F, B should be E. Now this time, let's go to the sides. So we are done with the vertices. Let's have the corresponding sides. This is vertices. Okay. We are done with that. Let's go to the sides now. If I'm going to be mentioning AB, and this is written as side AB, take note of the symbol for a side. You should have a symbol for a line segment. The symbol for a line segment is simply a line above the two letters. So take note, section Ruby, you name a side using two letters. If I'm going to have segment AB, what side corresponds to this on the second triangle? We have
ED, sir.
AB.
ED.
Take note, I started with A. So I should begin with
B, sir.
D.
B,
E of
D.
F, sir.
A, B. So this is D,
DE.
DE. I cannot have
I
DF.
D.
I cannot have DF because DF is longer than ED. Take
DE,
note.
sir.
Okay, it should be DE.
DE, sir.
Okay. What about if I'm gonna choose AC? Side AC.
DF, sir.
AC. It's
DF.
DF. Okay, very good. DF.
DF, sir.
Okay. Next, what about
DF, sir.
the side BC? What about side BC here?
EF, sir. EF.
EF, sir.
It's
EF. EF.
EF. Very good.
EF, sir.
Okay, this time we are done with the sides. This time, let's name the corresponding angles. Okay? Now, in this case, I'll be naming an angle using one letter. But later on, I will give you an example also on how to name an angle using 3 letters. When you name an angle using one letter, the vertex is simply the name of the angle. So if I'm going to have angle A, that corresponds to what angle on the second triangle?
Angle D.
Angle D. So take note of the symbol for an angle. This will be our symbol
angle
for
D.
an angle. So angle D. What about angle C? What corresponds to angle C?
Angle F.
Angle F. Correct. What about angle B?
Angle E.
Angle E.
Angle E. That's totally right. Okay? Now, considering that this is congruent to this one is congruent to this. I'm now putting symbols. This side is congruent to this side. This angle is congruent to this angle. This angle is congruent to this angle here. And this angle is congruent to this angle. How many congruent parts are there?
5, sir.
There are how many? 6. Okay. There are 6 congruent parts. So take note, this is our symbol for congruence. This one is the symbol for congruence. So if you have named all the 6 congruent parts, therefore, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle
DEF.
DEF. DEF. So this is now the concept of congruence. You need to have 6 congruent parts. This is simply the basic concept of congruence. If you have 6 congruent parts, meaning the 3 sides are congruent, the 3 angles are congruent, therefore the 2 triangles are congruent. But to make things easier, section Ruby, do you need all 6 sides? Or 6 parts, I mean? The 3 sides and the 3 angles? No. You don't need to prove 3 or 6. You only need 3 parts. And we will be having this. This is now the main topic that we will be having this morning. The SSS, the SAS, the ASA, and the AAS. By the way, do you have any questions regarding corresponding parts? Are there any questions about this? Is this clear, by the way?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now let's now begin. So take note, you don't need to prove 6 congruent parts. All you need to do is 3 parts. Now let's begin with the SSS postulate. It states that if 3 sides of one triangle are congruent to the 3 sides of another triangle, then the 2 triangles are congruent. So this is what you call the SSS postulate, because it's simply side, side, side postulate. Now you have noticed it here. This part is congruent to this side. This side is congruent to this side. And this side is congruent to this side. Okay, let's explore more on SSS postulate. Okay, so take note. If the sides of one triangle, all the sides. So you have noticed it here. This side here is congruent to this side. So meaning AB is congruent to DE. Okay? Segment AB is congruent to segment DE. Another one. We have BC is congruent to EF. Therefore, I'm going to be writing it this way. BC is congruent to DF. So, sir, why have you stated it that the 2 sides are congruent? Because there is congruence nga symbol. Kini siya. Mao ni ang congruence na ko nga symbol basta akong ibutang sa triangle. Kining duha, 1, 2. So, pangitag 1, 2 sa dira, mao ni nag-congruent. Kini siya, only one, mao ni congruent. The third part, we have this, 1, 2, 3. And we have 1, 2, 3. So therefore, AC is congruent to DF. And this is what you call the side, side, side. And you can now say that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF by SSS. Don't worry. You will not be naming this one. I'm just practicing this. I am just presenting this. But you can see that there are really 3 congruent sides. Is the SSS postulate clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay, more on the SSS postulate. So you're given this. If AB is congruent to ED, you have noticed it here. This side is congruent to this side. This side is congruent to this side. And this side is congruent to this side. And this is what you call, again, the side, side, side postulate. Are there any questions about the SSS postulate?
No, sir.
None, sir.
Okay, next. The side angle side. So this time, if 2 sides and the included angle, so when I say included means gipatungan. So you have noticed side, angle, side, and the angle is between the 2 sides. Okay? Gipatungan sa duha ka sides gipatungan sa duha ka sides ang angle. That's why it's stated here, included angle of one triangle. This is R congruent to 2 sides on the included angle of another triangle. Therefore, the 2 triangles are congruent. So if I'm gonna have kini siya congruent ani, this one is congruent to this, and you have noticed 110 degrees is congruent to 110 degrees. So we have a side, an angle, and a side. And that is what you call the SAS postulate. Okay? Let's have more on this. So take note, you have here AB is congruent to this one. So I'm going to write it that manner. AB is congruent to DE. Next, angle A is congruent. This angle is congruent to this angle. And take note, that is an included angle. And number 3, AC, this side here, is congruent to DF. And this is a side angle side. We have S, A, S. So therefore, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF by SSS postulate. Let's have another example for SAS, SAS. So you have noticed it here. Kabantay mo. The angle is between the two congruent sides. This is S, A, S. Same thing with the other one. S, A, S. Is the SAS postulate clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next. Let's have the ASA, or the angle side angle congruence postulate. It states this manner. If two angles and the included side this time, so you have noticed in the figure, you are given this angle is congruent to this angle here. This angle is congruent to this angle over here. And the side is now included. Gipatungan in between the two angles. So this time it's angle, side, angle. Okay, let's have more. We have an angle. Angle A is congruent to angle D. Then you have the side. This side AB and segment DE are congruent. Take note, the included side this time. And you have an angle B is congruent to angle E. And this is an angle, a side, and an angle. An angle, a side, and an angle. That is the A as a postulate. Okay? Are there any questions about the A as a postulate? Oh,
None, sir.
there you go. Oh, look at this one. Where should be the... Asa man ang angle akong ibutang ani basta mag A side angle side ko? Okay.
Sa
Sa kanang kuan sa
kinababuan, sir, na kinakiliran. Sa first na try.
Side angle side. Is it this one? Ganahan ko mag ASA ha. I want to have ASA. I want to have ASA for this. No, not ASA, but SAS I mean. I want to make use of SAS. Which...
sa triangle.
Sa first nga triangle, sir, kay sa kinababuan.
If kini kinababuan inyong butangan, kini siya, kini. If this is the congruent angle, gipatungan din na siya sa sides.
Ay, sa right, sir.
Okay, dapat kini. Kay dapat gipatungan sa duha ka sides. Included man ang angle ani. We have side, angle, side. Asa man ang congruence ani nga figure sa second triangle. Gipatungan again. So gipatungan balik ha. Mo nang gitawag natog SAS. Is that clear, section Ruby?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We have the AAS, the last postulate, the AAS. Unya, tanawan ninyo, gipatungan siya, so sayop na ni ang atong drawing. Kay kining drawing nato, dapat dili na siya dinha. Kay kung dira ato ang drawing, kung mao ni atong drawing section Ruby, then that's angle side angle. So take note of this. This is what I want you to discover. If two angles and the side opposite to one of the two angles, meaning the non-included side of one triangle are congruent to two angles. So you have noticed it now. We have this angle is congruent to this angle. Angle A is congruent to angle F. Now here is my question. Where should be the congruent side? Take note, it's not included anymore. The side is now not between the two congruent angles. Meaning, dapat opposite siya sa one of the two congruent angles. Asa man akong butang congruence ani section Ruby?
BA, sir.
Pwede, okay, pwede BA. Yeah, ang partner niya speakas, EF. Sir, pwede ang CB, sir. Pwede ra kaayo kini si CB. Pero ang i-partner na ako niya, si ED. Kung mag-BC ko, then I'm gonna have ED. Let's have more examples on this. Look at this figure. So you have this one is congruent to this. So angle A is congruent to angle D. Next, angle B, this angle, is congruent to this angle. Okay? And lastly, what have you noticed with the side? Is this unincluded side? Is this an included side? This one?
Yes, sir. Yes,
Is
sir.
this included?
No.
It's non-included. So take note, this is non-included. It's opposite. You have noticed it here. It's opposite. Okay? So take note, the side here should be non-included. And that's why it's angle, angle, side. And you can say that triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. By SAAS, some books make use of SAA for this. Anyway, it's totally the same. AAS and SAA are just the same. Let's have more example. Can you apply AAS here?
B and C, sir.
So take note, now have kini nga angle congruent, this angle congruent, this side congruent. Is this AAS?
Yes, sir.
AAS. That's AAS. Yes, it's AAS. Angle, angle, side. Okay? So, ang ilhanan nato when it comes to AAS, opposite. Opposite. Na ay opposite din ha, nga congruent side og angle, baga atbang. Because if I'm gonna have this side here, that's angle, side, angle now. Okay. Let's name the postulate. This one. What postulate will apply here? Is it SSS, SAS?
Side, angle, side, sir.
Yeah.
Angle, side.
Side, angle, side. Very good. Side, S. Sorry. SAS. Okay. What about this figure here?
Angle, side, angle.
Angle, side, angle. So take note, the side is included. Angle, side, angle. What about this figure here?
Side.
Side angle side.
Side, angle, side.
Side angle side.
Is this side angle side?
Angle side.
So take
Angle,
note
angle side.
when paminaw sa ha, section Ruby, when I say side angle side, the angle is included. Gipatong anday ni siya. Naadi ay congruence din eh. Oh,
ASS.
ang answer anak
Side angle.
wala siya. Wala may SSA. Not enough. Nga naman, kay wala man, if I'm gonna have this angle, if I'm gonna make use of SAS, if I want to use SAS here, this should be congruent. This should be congruent. Side angle side. Nya kini siya kay dili man siya sayop naman kay ang angle dapat diri untang angle. You get my point, section Ruby?
Yes, sir.
Okay, next. So take note, the third one is not enough. You cannot say that they are congruent. Okay? Next, what about this?
Angle side.
Angle side. So angle side. Okay? Now, are there any questions about this? These are just simple illustrations. Now, what if the triangles now gasikit, gasumpay? Now, I will be presenting to you this one first. Let's name the postulate over here. This one, I'm gonna have this one congruent to this. This side is congruent to this side. This angle is congruent to this angle. What postulate is this?
Side angle side.
Side angle side. Correct. Side angle side. SAS. What about this? If I'm gonna have this congruent to this congruent to this one congruent to this one. What?
Angle side angle.
Okay, this is
Angle side angle.
angle side angle. Okay? Let's have another one. What if I'm gonna have this congruent to this? This is a right angle. This is also a right angle. What's the measure of a right angle, section Ruby?
90 degrees.
If this is 90 degrees and this is 90, are they congruent?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
they
sir.
are. So what postulate is this?
Side angle side.
Side angle side. Okay? So take note, you already know how to determine what postulate to use. But what if, okay, I'm gonna focus now, let's have vertical angles first. So when I say vertical angles, when two triangles touch, there may be additional congruent parts. For example, this one. How many congruent parts do you see? You only have two parts, right? Duhara. This one is congruent to this one, and this one is congruent to this. But there is a third congruent part there. There is no symbol because kamoy mubutang sa symbol. And you call that vertical angle. Sir, what do you mean by vertical angles? If I'm gonna have this figure, section Ruby, this is what you call vertical angles. Angles nga gaatbang. And they are congruent all the time. If I'm gonna have another figure over here, this is congruent to this because they are called vertical angles. So in this figure, I can put a symbol for congruence here. So what postulate is this?
Sir.
Angle side side.
It's angle, side, angle, side, angle. Focus on one triangle lang. Angle, side, angle. So take note, you already know one concept, ha? The concept about vertical angles. Kamoy mubutang og congruence, ana. Next. There you go. They are vertical angles and they are congruent. This time, let's have this figure. This is now what you call reflexive property. You have noticed that, is there a line, a side common to the two triangles? Meaning, a line nga nagtunga sa figure, kini siya ay, muna akong gipasabot sa action Ruby. Di ba common siya? Kini siya is side ani nga triangle. This one is also a side of the other triangle. And they are congruent. That's what you call reflexive property. It is congruent to itself. So I can put symbol sa congruence, ana niya. And what postulate is this?
Side angle side.
Side angle side. Okay, section Ruby, let's have another one. Let's focus on name this postulate. Let's name the third congruent part first. Asay butangan ako congruent part ani?
Mas taas, sir.
Kining reflexive property. Makita gani mo linya, align nga naastunga sa figure, butangi dayo nag-congruence. Kay automatically, kamo may mabutang ana, dili man na given. Kamo may mo determine sa third congruent part ana. And obviously, this is, unsa man nga postulate? This is
Side angle
side angle side. That is SAS. Okay? By reflexive property, that's SAS. Next, what about this? Okay.
Side angle side, yapon, sir.
Unsa may ako ibutang dire? What? How do you call it? Ang vertical. Very good. Vertical angles. So they are congruent. This is side angle side. Okay? What about this figure?
Vertical angle.
Vertical angles again. Okay. They are congruent. And what postulate is this?
Angle side
angle.
Angle, angle, side. This is angle, angle, side. Okay? What about our last figure? This one, this figure here.
Reflexive property.
Reflexive property. Very good. Reflexive property. And what postulate is this?
Angle side side.
Side angle.
Na the SSA?
None.
None. So meaning, dili ni congruent ha? Not enough info. Basta SSA, walay SSA. So take note of that. I am showing this kay para, wala di ay SSA, makadetermine mo nga, sir, walay SSA. So dili siya congruent at all. Okay? Next. Let's focus on reflexive sides and angles. So take note. Okay, there you go. Asa ang reflexive property i-apply na ko ani section Ruby? Which side? Kini nga side. Kini siya nga side. Kabantay mo? This side over here. So the triangles here are kini siya nga triangle, kini, o kining blue nga triangle. So these are the two triangles nga congruent. Okay? Let's have angles. Okay, you have noticed it here. Asa ang reflexive angle ani?
Kanang white na constant line.
Ang sa kanang lower kana siya. Boni reflexive. Okay? Okay, this time I'm gonna put markings now. Okay? Let me change the color first of the pointer para mas maklaro nato. If I'm gonna have this side is congruent to this side is congruent to this side. Sige. You tell me what postulate is this? Pero you name first, asa man ang third congruent part? Vertical angle. So you need to put congruence there. And this is?
Side angle side.
Very good. Side angle side. This is SAS. Okay? Let's have another figure. What if I'm gonna have this is a right angle, and this one is congruent to this? Where is the congruence ng inyong ibutang? Again, vertical angles. And at the same time, right angles are congruent also. Kay 90 degrees man na 90 degrees. So, what postulate is this?
Angle, side angle.
Okay, angle, side angle. Okay? What about this one? I'm gonna be placing congruence here, congruence over here. Reflexive reflexive property or reflexive side. Okay, there. And what postulate is this? Side. SSS. Okay. Let's have another one. What if I'm gonna be placing this angle, this angle, this angle, and this angle? Reflexive. And what postulate is this?
Angle,
side, angle.
If you're gonna have, yes, angle, side. Dili niya siya pwede angle, side, angle. Kay ang angle, side, opposite. May tagi pa tong and. Wala man ang congruence din ha. Okay? Let's have this one. Kini. If I'm gonna have this side or this angle is congruent to this angle, and I'm gonna have let's have
Reflective side, sir.
This angle is congruent to this angle. Reflexive side. Very good. There you go. What postulate is this?
Angle, side.
Non-congruent.
Ayaw. Butangan ko ni angle, side. Butangan na itong angle, side. Kay angle, side man ka ni siya. So let's omit not congruent. This is angle, side. Okay? Let's have another one. This one. Now, what postulate are you gonna use over here?
Reflexive, sir.
Reflexive. Okay, reflexive side. And the postulate SSS. There you go. Next. This one.
Angle, side, angle.
Angle, side, angle.
Angle, side, angle, sir.
Angle, side, angle. Okay? What about this?
Side, angle.
Okay, reflexive, side. SSS. What about this figure here? SSS. This is SSS.
Reflexive.
What about this figure here?
Reflexive angle, sir.
Angle, side, sir.
What is the third congruent part?
Vertical angle.
Vertical, not reflexive, vertical. So this is SAS.
Side, angle, side.
Side, angle, side. SAS. Okay? Next. What about this one?
Reflexive side.
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 SSS. Okay. Gonna have this figure here. Let me put markings. Wait. Let me put markings first. Let me put markings.
Yes,
I'm gonna have this angle is congruent to this angle. This side is congruent to this side. I heard someone said vertical. So I'm gonna be placing congruence over there. And what postulate is this?
Angle,
side, angle. Okay? This time, kinisha, I'm gonna have this angle and this angle, this angle and this angle.
Reflexive.
And sa maning nga postulate? Angle, side, angle. Very good, Section Ruby. What about this one? I'm gonna be placing this one is congruent to this. I'm gonna have This angle is congruent to this angle. Okay. What's the third congruent part?
Vertical angle.
Vertical angles.
Side.
Angle, side. Very good. Angle, side. Okay? Let's have another one. I'm gonna have this one is congruent to this, and this congruent to this. What's the third congruent part? Reflexive side. And what postulate is this?
Side angle.
Side angle side. Side angle side. SAS. SAS. Okay? Let's have another figure over here. We have this angle is congruent to this angle. This side is congruent to this side. What?
Reflexive angle.
Reflexive angle, are you sure? Vertical. Oh, what postulate is this? Angle side. Okay? So, this one. This and this. Yeah, I'm gonna have this angle is congruent to this angle. Sige. Reflexive. What postulate is this?
Side angle.
Oh, yeah, nice side angle. Not
Enough.
much info.
or pwede ra pod moingon kag not congruent. So you can say nga dili sila congruent kay wala may postulate ni apply.